We have Air All Might. Going in. So Black Ace, hit me with the elevator pitch for what's going on, and I'm gonna eat my dinner as you talk.
Yeah, man. So basically, the idea behind this deck is how do you play air? Like, what's the best way to play a lot of these good air cards,
Mm-hmm.
but not play them in Ochako um, or Uraka, who are like very committed to the charge keyword,
Yeah.
right? So taking All Might, who is probably the most honest but like punishing character, who can be really defensive and offensive, and just giving him this really nice and tight Fury package that scales up into Blast Rush Turbo.
Yeah.
You can hold back on games and make games go longer, or you can just blow out your opponent in 2 to 3 turns.
Yeah, I dig this a lot. I really like this attack lineup. I'm gonna pull up another tab just so I can make sure that I can see. Oh, whoops! So I can make sure that I can see what my options for the air symbol are. How do you? So you our best kill condition you said is a Blast Rush Turbo. That's like our main one. How do you
Yeah,
feel
that's
about
the
that
main one.
card inside of All Might 2? Have you or All Might 3? Have you played this card? Have you played this deck yet, or is this all theory craft?
Yeah, I've had this deck in paper for about 2.5 weeks, so I played it at 2 locals,
Okay.
and it's worked out really well. The only time I've had trouble is like weird offset matchups, like my roommate was playing Aoyama, and I got blown out by that. But that was one of those things where, like, that's a matchup I don't expect to run into. And then even then, we were misplaying because he was using Aoyama defensively.
Oh, yeah. That is
So that
that's
game would have turned
illegal.
out a lot differently.
Yeah. So my
But other than
biggest
that, like,
issue
it,
with Blast
yeah,
Rush Turbo is that our character doesn't discard it from the card pool. The only cards that do are just encouragement. That's it. Because Blast Rush Turbo does not trigger off of Zero Gravity Lift, and it does not trigger off of Nitro Explosion removing itself. Or it doesn't trigger off of Instant Explosive Release, getting rid of itself. And so, how often do you have the +1/+3 on Blast Rush Turbo? Are you okay with that just like not existing?
the +1/+3 comes up, whenever you get an encouragement out, which it's a 3 of, so sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. It's not super relevant because the thing is, you're really playing Blast Rush Turbo whenever you're stringy out a bunch of attacks. So usually it's
Right.
going to be my 4th or 5th attack. And then at that point, assuming my opponent hasn't just been holding on and not blocking, and this is exactly lethal, so now they have to block this.
Right.
If they had to block everything else, then this card just scales up and scales up and scales up to the point where even if I'm all-mighting and I'm giving it, +1 or +2 speed, whatever, how many cards they have in hand, that's going to be enough generally to kill them.
Have you played Howitzer Impact in the deck?
I've not played Howitzer Impact. I've thought about it. The only issue is that I don't have enough foundation destruction
Yeah.
on my turn to make it worth it.
Right. I don't disagree with you. I was just wondering if it was worth it to play Howitzer Impact as like a lead-in in order to make something happen. All
Yeah,
in
it's
all,
definitely worth considering, but
I think that the attack lineup is probably exactly where we want it to be, just because of the limited. There are literally only 10 options of attacks on the air symbol that have the punch and fury keyword, and so we'd have to start looking at non-fury cards in order to move on from there, which like might be worth it, but like the only one that I can maybe think of is like a 2-check of the flash move, and that's like just 3 damage, and it only combos really well with instant explosive release, which is like another 3 damage move. And so like I think in order to like actually be able to kill anybody, I think Blast Rush Turbo might just be our best option. I just don't like that I'm missing out on the bottom enhance on the card. So that's frustrating.
yeah, it definitely hurts it. But as you can see, like we also sideboard into Bakugo,
For sure.
so
And with double front beatdown, because you're a madman.
it would double front beatdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, if it like, and also the deck's kind of like really like tight and consistent. I've pretty much had games where I always get my encouragement. Like I always see it. Maybe sometimes I don't play it.
Right.
Because again, like usually the +1 isn't like super necessary. Also, if I see capabilities, that just kind of replaces that Blasters Turbo's bottom effect.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
That's
a better
true.
version of it, really.
I do like the fact because like the big leverage point that we have here, as opposed to being a Bakugo, is the fact that we are an 8-hand size character, right? And so like seeing only having 19 attacks in this kind of a deck makes me feel fine. But even as like the All Might that I play under good, like every move that I play wants to draw a card. Like I just want to play draw card after draw card after draw card because I just like I want that as I want every attack in my deck in my hand at the exact same time. And so the fact that we don't have that, we only have access to Signature Right Swing, which is a good replacement, and 4 Latent Skill, which is a good replacement. Like, it makes me feel not spectacular. Inside of an air deck like this, I don't know if I love this shock treatment in the main board, except for the fact that it like deals with Kirishima. Or like maybe the agitations could possibly leave, right? This agitation feels really good on like poke turns, but not string turns. Maybe that could be replaced with one of these could be replaced, so it's a 2 of, and then the 4th encouragement just to really push this Blasters Turbo online. I love capabilities in a deck like this. Any deck with 0 gravity lift, any deck with instant explosive release, any deck with nitro explosion. I love capabilities. What are the chances we could push this up to a 2 of? Would there be anything you're willing to cut to make this card ultra threatening as soon as I have 1 momentum? Maybe something like the Earphone Jack?
Yeah, I could probably cut the 1 of Earphone Jack, because the Earphone Jack's kind of more of like a cute tech, right? Like you get the Earphone Jack out, then your turns with instant explosive release, you're using Earphone Jack to re-ready your capabilities, and then you're using requested assistance to re-ready it again.
Right.
So.
Right, but we have 4 requestings, right, to do this job, but we only have 1 capability. So when it gets checked, it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. That's true.
Because like we don't have a way to tutor it up out of the discard pile. I think I would probably replace this as long as you're not hurting for the 1 high block, which looking at our stats, our block zones. 15, 26, 15. Let's go. Look how spread you are. I love this. Is a sick. Hey, stamp it. I don't want to change anything. This is sick. Love Let's Fight Bad Guys at the 2 of. What other 4 Arrogant Dispositions.
We love checking the 6.
We love checking the 6. I mean
that's
good
really
enough,
all it's
right?
for. Also, it's a good low block, right? Like. I do have a lot of low blocks in the deck, but I feel like if anything, I'm gonna block with this, or I'm gonna block with, an extra copy of Rescue Completed.
3 Rescue Completed. There's another one you could do. You could do, instead of, if you really care about the Earphone Jack, you could take out 1 of these Rescue Completeds for 2nd capabilities. This is a little better on defense, right? Like your defense blocking wise should be immaculate because of these 3 cards here, right? Specialist Sound, Rescue Completed, Release. Like they're all doing this unbelievable job. Only 2 release, not 3? Question mark? I guess I just like put too many cards in my decks. Like you're trying to keep this nice and tight.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it like
55.
super consistent. That way it feels good going into Kamui or Bakugo.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that makes sense because we can now jump to the sideboard since we've talked about it. Kami Woods. This feels fine. When do you side this in? Are you afraid of like Eraserhead or?
Side again.
Nomu? Question mark.
Eraserhead, Nomu. Kirishima, actually.
Okay.
Because, at least in my testing, whenever I played against my friend who was playing Kirishima, anytime he went really defensive, like he wanted to block all my attacks, I threw out 5 attacks, he blocked 4 of them, and then still died. And he was at like 25 health.
Wowzers. Okay, that's pretty tight.
I started the turn with 0 gravity lift, and then ended it with Blasters Turbo.
Okay, I dig that. How do you feel about Short Circuit? Obviously, Jolt's there for effort, right? Like you just bring that card in and hate effort.
It's just there for effort.
Short Circuit or Electric Jolt. Yeah. How do you feel about Short Circuit? Because I hate this card.
I think this card's not as good as it could be,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's kind of just there for Recipro Burst.
Ooh, good point. Good point. We already have
But
so
even
much
then, that's
speed
the
hate.
only exactly that's the only matchup I'm like, and it's only Recipro Burst specifically in Ida 1.
Yeah.
Because anybody
Yeah.
else, yeah, I can just use all the other speed reduction and then not have to. I won't be punished for it. The
Right.
Ida 1, you have to play around the idea of I can only use so many enhances
Mm-hmm.
before I tap out on this Recipro Burst and then die to something else after it.
I mean, at that point, I would rather see something along the lines of the put this speed to 4 rather than short circuit, in my opinion. Right? The flip card, because it flips and doesn't destroy, and I think there's other ways to play with that card using the other block zones that you have. It does require you to block because it will still probably be at a million damage, and this card's not that great. This card on things like Texas Smash is like just like a good thing, but it's a low block, and you'd rather just block the Texas Smash rather than take the 3. I love the double wall killing the sideboard. Baku, we had talked about double front beat down because you're an absolute Chad. The very first, so like if I had free reign and I was allowed to push this deck up closer to like 68, I would put a bonus Let's Fight Bad Guys in. I'd put a bonus release in. I would take out the earphone jacks for a second capabilities. I would put 2 shock treatments in the sideboard, getting rid of this short circuit. And I would pump encouragement up to a 4 of because of it. So I think in total we increase the deck by 2 or 3 cards. Let me just do what I said, right? We'll be chill with it. So this was at 4, this was at 3, this was at 2, this was at, we're just gonna put it in the sideboard so that's still on the screen, we can care about it. This is gonna now go into the sideboard, but we're gonna take it off the stream that we can care about it. And you are out of my sideboard because you suck. And then refresh, right? And then we put shock treatment up to a 2 of, as it's supposed to be. Walkling's here, Jolt's here. Okay. And so now we just went, we went up literally by 2 cards. I think this inside of All Might guarantees that we hit a thing, right? It guarantees that this is going to work. And we get to double up on All Might if we absolutely... I want this Nitro Explosion to hit so that my instant explosive releases will hit, right? It's going to hit.
Yeah.
Or you've only got 1 card in your hand. Sweet, it's a 6 high as opposed to a 5 high. Like, it doesn't change that number very much. But with this thing now for sure is going to hit, and then I get to start popping off with instant explosives. I think that's really, really, really good. Single plus ultra, what's happening there?
Plus ultra is kind of whatever in my opinion. I don't think the card's very. I think the card's good. But I feel like it has more defensive utility than offensive utility, right? Like, there's going to be niche situations where I'm going to want to double something's damage, I think.
Okay.
Unless I'm really going for the kill.
Right.
Plus, I don't actually, like, own this card. So if I were to...
fair,
this is the one
fair.
card in the deck I don't own. So if I were to get it, I'm probably just going to get 1, maybe 2.
I was going to say put it up to a 2 of. I think Plus Ultra should exist at a 2 of in every single deck that can possibly play it. Strictly because of that defensive option that you said. But your deck has a special place because you're allowed to instant explosive release, right? I hit somebody with Nitro, like, follow my line, right? My opponent's at, what, 10 health? I throw Nitro Explosion. They have to deal with it or whatever, right? Or they don't, because I have All Might 2 to give it plus 3 speed, and then Let's Fight Bad Guys for another 2 speed, another 4 speed. They didn't. Okay, we'll go down to 6. This is fine. Instant explosive release. It's going to go to my momentum. They have to block this one. I'll play my 0 gravity lift. I'll plus ultra. All right, it's now 12 damage throw. I'll nitro explosion. I'll remove this to give it the powerful. Any other momentum that I've hit you with over the pass of the game is now just going to go into the powerful on the 0 gravity lift. Like, just turning plus ultra is like a 6 damage version of the powerful 2, right? And I think that is something to look at, as well as, like, it's another plus 5 damage on a Blast Rush Turbo, right? If I have 2 momentum, this thing gets absolutely crazy stats attack-wise. We're going to give it a ton of speed with All Might and Let's Fight Bad Guys. I think Plus Ultra has a lot to be has a way to just accidentally steal games from my opponent aggressively. Not to mention steal games from my opponent defensively, which is why it is like $13,000 for a victory one. Like, it's like it is It is a card worth having 4 of. I would suggest picking up 4 of these before we go into the next season of cards, strictly because I don't know if these Plus Ultra packs are going to exist again, right? Or sorry, if a new batch of Plus Ultra packs come out for next season, we want to make sure that you have all 4. I've got 3 play sets from Cena Lucha in the chat. You lucky ducky.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Plus Ultra, right, is that Plus Ultra, at least right now, unless they reprint it, has like really no future viability unless you're playing these old characters
Mm-hmm.
because it has the set 1 watermark.
Right.
So, like, at least as of now, unless Shaska decides to change anything, looking at any set 2 character, you never have to consider, are they running Plus Ultra, at least offensively. Like, obviously they can run it defensively, but I don't know. And maybe this game's a little different. I come from a Dragon Ball background where like you have an upper limit on cards you can play. So like having 1 card purely for a defensive 5 block that's mid feels bad to me.
I think there's going to be
personally
something in the format, right, that says that it gets an unbelievable amount of speed on a mid zone, and you're going to want these in your sideboard. I don't think after set 1 they're necessarily mainboarded because of the new characters that are coming out, but I think, and this is the history of like universes, right? Is your set 1 characters are going to be just as competitive as your set 2 characters, right? Like they don't necessarily power creep that way. They don't power creep characters necessarily. Like to talk, you're fairly new to My Hero, right? So I'm about to say a bunch of stuff that doesn't necessarily have context, but like the Cowboy Bebop characters are not bad characters, and they were made 4 years ago. You could go and you could win an entire major with any of the Cowboy Bebop characters, asterisks, just like you could with the most recent Soul Calibur characters. Like you could do that. It is possible as long as you are a good pilot, right? And
yeah,
so
okay.
Your Plus Ultra is not going to lose value as long as I'm going to speak very frankly. I've seen all the previews, all the things that we've had. Next set I'm playing Ochako 1. And so like this card is like still going to be useful in my deck, and it still could be useful whenever you, I don't know, are playing a set 2 character and you sideboard into Kamui Woods, right? Like what happens when you sideboard into a set 1 character? Now your Plus Ultra's just got that much more valuable. They're hella blocks on defense, but they're useful offense wise. So I would just suggest picking up a couple Plus Ultras, and this has been my my marketing Monday with with you. Stock's going up.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair. It's definitely a card I do want to pick up. I do want to own. Just haven't. Man, every time I go to locals, I only pull character cards. I have like 5 Ojiros now.
I feel it.
It's depressing.
I feel it. Yeah. This is probably the list that I would run, dude. I think this list is great. I think this list is really, really cool. And I think it's only going to get better with set 2 if we find any air fury, air punch stuff. He's only going to get better.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the thing about this character that I really like, is that he kind of forces your opponent to play their entire hand, or at least most of it, every turn.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're going to punish them for it by giving your attacks more speed so they're harder to block, or giving them more damage so you force them to block. And then you just, once they're out of blocks, which eventually they will be, you just kind of blow them out with either a powerful zero gravity lift or turbo.
Right. So here's the last thing that I'll say. I would suggest taking this 11 card sideboard and just playing with your 11 cards. And if you're not liking, like, put it in your deck box. And if you're not liking capabilities, just take it out in games 2, games 3 for the other earphone jack. Just put it back to where it was, because this is the experiment card, right? If you feel like you don't necessarily need the capabilities, or if it's on board, it's not being useful, or you like see 2 of it and you're like, ew, yuck, I hate seeing 2 of this card, just put it back to the 1 of with the earphone jack and just like re-ready it like you said. But I think having double capabilities on board is like super scary with how much momentum we're able just to snap up with instant explosive release and zero gravity lift being a throw. I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I agree. Real quick, how do you feel about 3 agitation? now that we've upped the
3
count a little bit.
agitation. We could easily toss it back down to a 2 of if we wanted to. The big thing about agitation is, I mean, it's just a 1-for-1 cantrip, right? It turns all of these ones into cantrips, which feels great, but that's only really good on like a poke turn, right? Oh man, I have a signature right swing, and I'm begging to find some attacks. I'll discard these 2 foundations, draw 2 more foundations. Well, I guess this is a poke turn. I could not find it. Oh, they blocked. All right, I'll come up agitation and draw 1 more, so I get even a little bit more build. It just helps your build turns, not necessarily your attack turns. Unless it like lets you rip into something like a 0 gravity lift, you know?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like this a little better now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 4 of encouragement, because that was something I was looking at. Like, how do I fit in 4 of encouragement without increasing the deck size too much?
For sure.
And I think
Yeah, I
I think
don't
this may
think
be
that
the way.
58 cards is that terrible. Honest. Oh, I think it's actually 57 now that we cut this down to a 2 of. Yeah.
Yes, it's 57 now. It should be.
All right, dude. Any questions?
Uh, no, man. Everything looks good to me. Thank you for the advice, because this is what I'm planning to play in the provisional this weekend.
That
So
is why we did it on this day. I assumed I was going to be getting a lot of provisional decks. Let me go ahead and just send you a copy of this. It is technically my deck, so you'll have to make a copy of it yourself. But there you go.
all right, thank you, buddy.
You're very welcome. We'll see you.
Yeah, man.
Peace.
Peace.